Today is October 1st, 2023, so it's time for another monthly update video. I'm going to talk about what went on in the month of September and what we've got coming up in October. And it's kind of big news all around. I always like to begin by highlighting three big things, and the ones that I've got this time around are indeed quite biggies. So big thing number one, it took 9.5 years, but I have finished the half-hour Hegel commentary video project with 375 videos in the series. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the September thing because we do want to celebrate that achievement. Big thing number two, every October, sometimes bleeding into November, we have Stoicon and Stoic Week. I am not organizing Stoicon along with my wife, Andy Shaka. This time around, we did the last 2 years, but I will be speaking at Stoicon 2023, talking about things of beauty. So that's the theme for the entire conference. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the October section as well. And one more really big thing, at least big to me, coming up in October. And it is going back on Jimmy Nutt's channel for a live stream in his Chatting with Nuts series, which is quite good. You should definitely check it out. And we're going to be talking about something that I'm really fascinated by, and that is the role that the Oracle or the Book of Changes, the I Ching, plays in his novel, Man in the High Castle. And so there's a lot involved there. So those are the big things coming up, but we've got a lot of other cool things as well. So what went on in September? As I mentioned, I brought the half-hour Hegel project finally to a successful close, releasing the last of the videos a while back. And then we also had an online Hegel party to celebrate that, did a live streaming event. And, we did our usual Hegel meetups during that, which are going to be coming to a close as well with the ending of the project. I did my AMA as I do every month. We managed to get one episode of Wisdom for Life produced, me and my co-host Ann Hayes. We're hoping to get back to a more regular schedule, but getting one in was quite good. And the Worlds of Speculative Fiction this time around turned out quite well. I was a little bit worried because I found the video on Thomas Ligotti getting longer and longer and longer. It might be one of the longest that I've produced in the series. It came in at over 2 hours, but it was very, very well received by people who have been reading and appreciating Ligotti's work much more deeply and at much greater length than I myself have. So that was kind of a nice confirmation that I got there. It's been a very busy month with classes. I have 4 different classes ongoing at Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design and at Marquette University. A lot of work with clients as well. And I've been doing some writing projects. And I think you may have seen that I'm now, sort of in full swing doing a lot of volunteer work with Almost Home Cat Refuge. It's very nice to go in there and see the cats. Sometimes I actually take my oldest child, Cat, in there with me on Sundays as kind of a thing that we do. But I also do a lot of cleaning and feeding and taking care of the cats and all of that sort of stuff. And I'm doing, along with Andy, some grant works for that organization as well. I've also had some medical issues this month. I've had to be in the ER briefly and things like that. Everything is basically under control at this point, but it's been no fun, I can tell you that. It's been a little bit of a disruption to my schedule, but I did manage to get a lot of video work done this last month. including, of course, the 3 half-hour Hegel videos that brought the series to a close. I did 2 Ideas That Matter interviews, one with Jimmy Nuts, who I've already mentioned, and that was about speculative fiction, but also about pro wrestling. He was a pro wrestler for 10 years. And the other was with George Grombacher, who is the producer of the Lifeblood podcast. He's had me on his podcast several times. He hit the 2,000 episode mark, and I thought that's so cool that we probably should do something to celebrate it, so we had a cool conversation together. I did a couple Sadler's stories, which you can find a link to below. All these things are in the video description. I did a caption contest about a checkerboard out in the middle of the street, and a lot of core concept videos. So we finished up the sequence on Aristotle's Poetics. Then we did a piece for my business ethics classes. Robert Audi, who's a great ethicist in general, but particularly in the area of business ethics, his piece on cost-benefit analysis. And we started something new that I've been promising to get to for a long time, Immanuel Kant's Prolegomena to Any Future Metaphysics. And it's going to take me a couple dozen videos probably to get through that entire work. We've only gotten through the preface so far, but you know, that's something, right? And podcast work, did some other stuff for business ethics. Norman Bowie, another major thinker. We did some of his stuff on Kantian ethics in business. And Jasper Hosper's, his piece, What is Libertarianism? He actually is quite an important person in the movement. We did Aquinas' 5 Ways from Summa Theologia, Prima Pars, Question 2. Plato's Republic, Book 2, for my ethics classes. And now we have started a whole sequence on Aristotle's categories, a text that I shot an entire sequence of videos on years back. I'm converting them all into podcast episodes so you can listen to them wherever you want. So that is it for the month of September, quite a busy month. Let's talk now about the month to come. All right, so what do we have coming up in October? So next weekend on the 7th, which is Saturday, at noon, I'll have my usual AMA, that's Ask Me Anything session. You can just pop in and ask whatever questions you want. Make sure that you get in early because we always get more questions than I can ever get to. And of course, you don't need to ask the question more than once. It's in the feed, I see it, and I'll try to get to as many as I can. Following that, for my Patreon supporters, I will be having our monthly philosophy chat. I hope that you can join me for that. Then on the 12th, at 7 p.m., we'll be having that Chatting with Nuts session. Now, that's not on my channel. That's on Jimmy Nuts' channel. So we'll put some announcements about that ahead of time. But you can go over there right now and check out the stuff that he's got. He's got a lot of great booktube matters on sci-fi, horror, fantasy, and other areas of speculative fiction, including some really cool interviews with authors. On the 14th, speaking of speculative fiction, we will have session 74 of the Worlds of Speculative Fiction. So join me for a video premiere with live chat, followed by a Zoom conversation. It's about 3 hours total between the video and the Zoom, so it's a lot of opportunity for interaction. The series that we're looking at this time, N.K. Jemisin's Broken Earth trilogy. Just an amazing set of books that I have really, really enjoyed. They were a recommendation from a friend of mine who, year after year kept recommending them. I'm so glad that I actually finally took her advice and read my way through them because boy, are they something. On the 15th at noon, that's a Sunday, we will be resuming our Storytime with Sadler. That's me doing a live reading of one of my favorite short stories. And we're going to keep up the cat theme that we established earlier in the series. We're going to be looking at one of H.P. Lovecraft's short stories, The Cats of Ulthar, which is, a good cautionary tale, why you should never mess with somebody's kitten. So perhaps you want to join me for that. And then on the 21st, we have the big annual Stoicon. Starts at 9 a.m. Central Time. All the times that I'm listing, by the way, are Central Time, so you're going to want to check your time zone. I will be coming on at 1:15 to do my 30-minute presentation about things of beauty in Stoic texts and talking about, why we find them beautiful. The entire conference, though, is about Stoicism and beauty. So it's going to be a really cool Stoicon this time around. And then we'll finish up the month on the 28th. That's a Saturday at noon. We will be getting to the next session of Understanding Anger 2.0. And we're going to be looking at anger in Aeschylus's plays, the Oresteia, right? The trilogy that centers around the house of Agamemnon, with Orestes, his son, being one of the key characters, and the beginnings of legal justice and the intervention of Athena and several other gods involved in that. So really great stuff coming up. Classes are, of course, still ongoing. I'm quite busy with those. I'm in the classroom 3 days a week nowadays. Got a lot of client work that I'm doing as well. And I'm going to be continuing my writing work. I got a couple irons in the fire for that, as well as invitations to write pieces in various venues. Video work. So I've got to get to the book reviews that I haven't gotten to for a while and start doing at least 3 or 4 this month, getting some of these things out of my backlog. There'll be videos, of course, of the various events, including I'll record my part of the Stoicon. And then I want to do some more of these Ideas That Matter interview videos, and that's a matter of lining up the people who I want to interview. I've got a few people in mind already that I'm going to be reaching out to. I'm going to do some more Sadler stories, perhaps some other personal videos, and possibly some other quick takes videos on topics that I think could be useful for me to give my reflections on. But a lot of what I'm going to be doing this month is getting those core concept videos done on Kant's Prolegomena, and that is probably going to take me most of the rest of this month, because I'm anticipating probably at least 2 dozen. I don't have the entire series plotted out, but there's going to be quite a lot of these videos, because I'm going to go through the entire work. I'm not skipping over any of the key topics, because it's a very important text. Podcast, I've got a lot of podcast work to do on Aristotle's categories. I think I shot something like 20-something videos on that, and I've only released, I want to say, about 3 or 4 of the podcast episodes so far. So I've got a lot more yet to do. And then we'll see what I'm going to do with the podcast after that. There's a lot of other texts that I probably need to get to sometime soon that I've already got in core concept video form, and I need to turn them into podcast episodes. So that is what we've got coming up in October. I hope that you can join me for some of these online events. The conversation that I'll be having with Jimmy Nuts about Philip K. Dick. If you're into him, you don't want to miss that. Stoicon, obviously, very important yearly event that I think anybody can benefit from. And there's all sorts of other cool stuff coming up as well. So I hope I see you in some of these events, and I hope you have a great month ahead.